They found my camera 3 months after I disappeared. A hiker stumbled across it wedged between two rocks near Rattlesnake Creek in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, southern Washington. The SD card was intact. The images were clear, and according to the official report, they showed nothing but wildlife, trees, and one very confused photographer who'd gotten lost in the wilderness. That's the story the Forest Service tells. That's what my sister Amanda believes, or pretends to believe. That's what closed the missing person case and let everyone move on with their lives. The truth is more complicated. My name is Cole Brennan. I am, a freelance nature photographer based in Portland, Oregon. 31 years old, experienced outdoorsman, published in National Geographic, Audubon, and Outside Magazine. I specialized in elusive wildlife, wolverines, fishers, Pacific martens, animals that don't want to be seen. I went into those mountains in October 2024 chasing a rumor. I came back different, changed, carrying knowledge I can't share and debt I can't repay. This isn't a missing person mystery. This is a voluntary disappearance. This is the testimony of someone who found something in the forest and made a choice. Them or me. Their survival or my normal life. I chose them, and I'd do it again. The assignment came through an intermediary in September, a conservation group called the Pacific Northwest Wildlife Preserve. Small organization, minimal web presence, focused on habitat protection. They wanted documentation of old-growth forest ecosystems for grant applications. Standard work. $3,000 for 2 weeks in the field. The contact was a woman named Dr. Evelyn Matsuda. We met at a coffee shop in Portland. She was 50s, academic bearing, choosing her words carefully. We need photographs of pristine wilderness, she said. Areas that demonstrate why federal protection matters. The Gifford-Pinchot has sections that haven't been surveyed in decades. We need visual evidence of biodiversity. Why me specifically? Because you're good at finding things that hide, and because you work alone. She slid an envelope across the table, half up front, the other half when you deliver. Inside was $1,500 in cash and a topographic map with 3 areas circled in red. Remote locations, far from established trails. The kind of places I loved. These areas have interesting wildlife patterns, she said. Unusual migration routes, unexplained disturbances. We think there might be wolverine populations, possibly fishers. Document whatever you find. Something in her tone made me suspicious. What are you really looking for? Evidence that these forests need protection, whatever form that evidence takes. I should have asked more questions. But $1,500 cash was sitting in front of me and my rent was due. I took the job. I entered the Gifford-Pinchot on October 3rd, parking at a Forest Service road that hadn't seen maintenance in years. My gear included 2 Canon bodies, telephoto lenses, a drone for canopy photography, motion-activated trail cameras, and camping equipment for 2 weeks. I had permits, maps, satellite phone, and GPS tracker. The first location was a valley Dr. Matsuda had marked as Area 1, 12 miles from the nearest road, accessible only by game trail. Dense, old-growth Douglas fir and western hemlock, understory thick with salal and Oregon grape. Roosevelt elk had been through recently, droppings still fresh, bark stripped from saplings. Black bear sign everywhere. This was working forest, active ecosystem. I spent 3 days photographing everything. Mushroom colonies in nurse logs, lichen diversity on ancient bark, a northern spotted owl that let me shoot for 20 minutes before ghosting back into shadows. Marbled murrelets I tracked to a nest 180 feet up a Sitka spruce. This was exactly what conservation groups needed, visual proof of biodiversity. On day 4, I found the first anomaly, a tree marking, Douglas fir, maybe 400 years old, with bark stripped in vertical lines 9 feet above ground. Too high for elk, too regular for bear. The exposed wood showed deliberate scoring, parallel grooves suggesting tool use or structured claws. I photographed it from every angle, measured the marks, collected bark samples from the ground. The pattern repeated. 6 trees within half a mile, all marked identically, all at heights suggesting something tall had reached up deliberately. This wasn't random animal behavior. This was territorial marking or communication. I set up trail cameras in a perimeter around the marked trees and retreated to observe. My training said, be patient. Let the animal reveal itself. Whatever was making these marks would return. That night, I heard vocalizations. Not any animal I recognized. Not cougar, not elk bugling, not coyote, Something deeper, more structured, almost like speech, but not quite. The sound traveled strangely in the valley, echoing from multiple directions, making it impossible to pinpoint source. I recorded 18 minutes of audio. When I played it back through analysis software, I found patterns: repetition, call and response, syntax. In my field journal, either I'm documenting unknown wildlife behavior, or I'm about to photograph something that shouldn't exist. Either way, Dr. Matsuda knew exactly what she was sending me to find. Day 6 brought the first visual contact. I'd positioned myself in a natural blind, fallen cedar creating a hollow where I could sit concealed with clear sightlines to the marked trees. Dawn was breaking, mist rising from the creek below. I had the telephoto mounted, settings adjusted for low light, absolutely still. Movement at the tree line. Not a bear, wrong shape. Not elk, wrong gait. Something walking upright through brush that would stop a human cold, moving with efficiency that spoke of intimate knowledge of terrain. I got 12 frames before my hands started shaking. 8 feet tall, possibly taller, covered in dark brown hair that caught morning light, massively built through shoulders and chest, arms proportioned wrong for human, too long, too thick. The face, partially visible in profile, prominent brow ridge, flat nose, but the eyes, even at distance, even through the lens, I could see intelligence there. It approached one of the marked trees, reached up, confirming that yes, 9 feet was comfortable reaching height, and ran its hand down the scored bark. Not marking, checking, reading maybe. Then it made a sound. Low, resonant, purposeful. Response from the forest. Different voice, same structural pattern. Communication. The creature turned, and for one heart-stopping moment, looked directly at my position. We made eye contact through 400 millimeters of glass. It knew I was there. It knew I was watching. And it made a decision. It walked away. Not fleeing. That would have been explosive movement through dense brush. It simply departed with dignified purpose. I sat in that blind for another hour, shaking, not from fear, from realization. I'd just photographed something that science insisted didn't exist. I had proof that would change everything. That's when Dr. Matsuda's real agenda became clear. She hadn't sent me to document trees. She'd sent me to document them. I checked the images obsessively. Clear, sharp, undeniable. The creature's face was visible in 3 frames. The proportions were obvious. This wasn't a bear standing up. This wasn't a person in a suit. This was a living being that represented either an unknown primate species or, more likely based on the morphology, an archaic human that had somehow survived. The implications crashed over me. Gigantopithecus in North America, Homo erectus persisting into modernity, Denisovan descendants. Whatever classification eventually fit, this was a hominid. This was family. I called Dr. Matsuda on the satellite phone. I got it, I said. Clear photographs. Undeniable. Long silence. Then, what are you going to do with them? What do you mean? I'm delivering them to you. That was the contract. Cole, I need to know what you're going to do with them. Are you going to publish? Go to media? Contact scientific journals? I haven't thought that far ahead. Think now. Because what happens next depends entirely on your answer. Her tone had changed. This wasn't academic curiosity anymore. This was something else. Something urgent. Who are you really? I asked. Someone who's been protecting them for 30 years. Someone who's watched good people stumble onto evidence and make choices. Some people choose exposure. Some choose protection. I need to know which kind of person you are. You used me. I tested you. There's a difference. You have the photographs, you have the proof. You could be famous, wealthy, the photographer who documented Bigfoot. Or you could understand what that fame would cost them. I looked at the images on my camera screen. That face. Those eyes. That moment of recognition between 2 conscious beings. I need to think, I said. Think quickly, because you're not the only person in these woods anymore. She hung up, and I realized I wasn't alone. I could hear them. Multiple individuals moving through the forest around my position. Not threatening, but present, aware, waiting to see what I'd do with their secret. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I sat by my campfire with the camera in my lap, understanding that I was holding something more dangerous than I'd ever carried. Not dangerous to me, dangerous to them. Around midnight, they came closer. I could hear them in the darkness beyond firelight. Footsteps, breathing, soft vocalizations. 3 individuals, maybe 4. They were deciding something about me, whether I was threat or witness, whether I understood or needed to be driven away. I made a choice. I turned off my headlamp, banked the fire low, and spoke into the darkness. I see you. I photographed you. I know you're real. My voice sounded small in the vast forest. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that knowledge, but I want you to know I'm not here to hurt you. I'm trying to understand. Silence, then movement. Something being set down near my tent. Footsteps retreating. I waited until dawn to investigate. They'd left a gift, a woven basket made from cedar bark, containing dried salmon, mushrooms, and berries, and beside it, arranged with clear intentionality, 3 smooth river stones and a bundle of feathers tied with plant fiber. This was communication. They were showing me they understood reciprocity, gift-giving, symbolic exchange. They were demonstrating consciousness, culture, intelligence. I spent that day photographing the gift, documenting everything. Then I left my own offering, energy bars, a titanium water bottle, and, after long consideration, a small folding knife from my kit. Tool for tool, gift for gift. That evening, Dr. Matsuda appeared at my camp. No warning, no vehicle noise. She just walked out of the forest like she'd been there all along. "You're still here," she said. Not surprised, just observing. "You said I wasn't alone. You were right." She sat across from my fire, uninvited. The Pacific Northwest Wildlife Preserve isn't a conservation group. It's a protection network. We're mostly indigenous community members, some scientists, a few people like me who stumbled into this and made choices. We've been protecting them for generations. Why hire me then? Why risk exposure? Because we're losing ground. Climate change is pushing them higher. Development is fragmenting habitat. We need documentation that proves these forests must stay protected without revealing why they must stay protected. She looked at my camera. "May I?" I handed it over. She scrolled through images, her face carefully neutral. "These are remarkable," she said finally. "Clear enough to prove everything. And that's exactly why they can never be published. That's not your decision. No, it's yours. But I need you to understand what publication means. Within weeks, these mountains will be crawling with researchers, media, hunters, tourists. The Forest Service will be forced to manage them. There will be capture attempts for study, DNA sampling, radio collars, congressional hearings about whether they have rights, whether they're human enough to deserve protection. Maybe they do deserve that recognition. Maybe they deserve to be acknowledged. They've survived 1,000,000 years by not being acknowledged, by staying myth, legend, impossible. The moment you make them real, you make them vulnerable." She handed back the camera. "There are maybe 30 individuals left in the Pacific Northwest. 30. You're holding their extinction in your hands." I looked at the camera screen. That face, those intelligent eyes. "What did you do?" I asked. "When you found them?" "I burned my evidence, left my academic career, devoted my life to keeping their secret." She met my eyes. "And I've never regretted it, because they're still here, still free, still living as they choose. You want me to destroy the photographs. I want you to make an informed choice, with full understanding of consequences either way." She left me alone with that choice, and with the sound of them in the darkness, waiting to see what I'd decide. I spent 3 days paralyzed by indecision. The photographs sat on my camera representing everything: proof, validation, career breakthrough, and potential genocide all at once. I researched obsessively on my satellite connection. Uncontacted tribes in the Amazon who'd been decimated by disease after first contact. The Martha, the last passenger pigeon, dying in a zoo in 1914. The thylacine, the last one filmed in grainy footage before extinction. Every documented first contact was a countdown to last contact. But I also read about species saved by recognition. Woodland caribou protected once their decline was documented. Marbled murrelets whose old-growth dependency led to habitat preservation. Science as salvation. Which story was this? On day 9, I hiked to Area 2 on Dr. Matsuda's map. Another remote valley, this one with a creek that formed deep pools. I found more tree markings, more evidence of habitation, small constructed shelters hidden in dense undergrowth, nearly invisible unless you knew what to look for. And I found something else. A child, juvenile, maybe 4 feet tall, playing in the creek, splashing, catching small fish with remarkable dexterity, making sounds of delight that were heartbreakingly universal. Young mammal joy, recognizable across species barriers. I didn't raise my camera. Couldn't. This was someone's child, someone's family, and I was intruding on a private moment that had nothing to do with science or documentation or proof. The young one noticed me, froze. We stared at each other across 50 feet of wilderness. Its face showed fear, curiosity, and calculation far beyond what a 4-foot human child could manage, ancient genes expressing in young features. Then, an adult appeared, moving with explosive speed, positioning itself between me and the juvenile. Protective, maternal, I thought, based on body language. She, I was certain now it was female, stood her ground, breathing hard, evaluating threat. I raised my hands, palms out. Universal primate sign. No threat, no weapon. She made a sound. Complex, urgent. The juvenile retreated immediately. Then she looked at me and I saw something that broke my heart. Exhaustion. The weariness of constantly hiding, constantly moving, constantly protecting young in a world that kept encroaching. She didn't attack, didn't bluff charge. She just stood there making sure I understood. Family exists here, and you will not harm it. Then she turned and walked away, following her child into the forest. I sat by that creek for 2 hours, understanding something fundamental. These weren't specimens. They weren't cryptids or mystery animals. They were people, non-human people, but people nonetheless, with children, with family bonds, with the exhaustion of parents trying to keep their kids safe in an increasingly dangerous world. And I was holding photographs that would destroy their ability to protect those children. That night I called Amanda, my sister, needed to hear a human voice I trusted. Cole, Jesus, you're alive. Where are you? I'm fine. I'm in the mountains. Amanda, I need to ask you something hypothetical. You sound weird. Are you okay? If you discovered something important, something that would make you famous but would hurt innocent people, what would you do? Long silence. Cole, what did you find out there? Answer the question. I don't know. I'd want to say I'd do the right thing, but I don't know what the right thing is in that scenario. Yeah, I said quietly. Me neither. Come home. Whatever this is, come home and we'll figure it out together. But I knew I couldn't go home. Not yet. Not until I'd made this decision. Because going home meant bringing this knowledge back to civilization, meant facing the pressure to publish, to profit, to prove. In my journal, I have proof of the impossible, and I'm learning that some impossibilities should stay impossible, that mystery serves a purpose, that not all knowledge should be exposed to light. Day 12 brought the decision moment, not through revelation but through relationship. I was photographing a northern goshawk, work I could actually publish, when I heard movement. The large male I'd first photographed emerged from the tree line and sat down, just sat, 20 feet away, close enough that I could see individual hairs, see the scars on his hands and arms, see the intelligence in his eyes. We stayed like that for maybe 10 minutes. Then he did something extraordinary. He pulled out materials from a hide pouch, some kind of leather or bark, and began to work, weaving grass into cordage with fingers that showed remarkable dexterity, creating something functional and beautiful. He was showing me culture, showing me that he wasn't just a biological specimen but a being with craft, with skill, with aesthetic sense. He was teaching me the difference between animal and person. When he finished the cordage, he tied it in a loop and held it out toward me. Offering. Gift. I accepted it, the woven grass rough and organic in my hands. Then I made my own gesture. I showed him the camera, turned the screen toward him, showing the photographs I'd taken, his face, his family, the evidence of their existence. He looked at the images for a long time, then at me, then back at the images. Understanding was clear in his expression. He knew what this device was, what these images meant, what power I held. He made a sound, low, questioning, a direct inquiry. What will you do with this knowledge? I turned the camera toward myself, navigated to the deletion menu, and paused, looking at him, asking permission, in a way, seeking guidance from someone whose life was at stake. He tilted his head, watching, waiting. I selected the photographs of him, of his family, of their shelters and tools. One by one, I deleted them, permanently, while he watched. When it was done, I showed him the empty gallery, the evidence, gone. The sound he made then, I have no words for it. Gratitude, maybe. Relief. Something deeper than both. He stood, placed one massive hand over his heart, then extended it toward me. Then he was gone, moving through the forest with the silence of someone who'd mastered invisibility. I sat there with my camera, feeling the weight of what I'd just done. I'd destroyed proof, eliminated evidence, committed professional suicide for beings most people thought were myth. But I'd also kept a promise I hadn't known I was making. I'd honored the trust extended across species barriers. I'd chosen their survival over my validation. I spent the next 2 days photographing everything else. The forests, the watersheds, the biodiversity Dr. Matsuda actually needed for conservation work. Real work that could protect habitat without exposing inhabitants. On my last night, they came to say goodbye. All of them. The male, the female, the juvenile, and 2 others I hadn't seen before. They sat in a semicircle beyond my campfire, silent witnesses. The juvenile approached shyly and left a gift. A small carved figure maybe 3 inches tall. Humanoid shape but not human proportions. A self-portrait, I realized. Art, representation, symbolic thinking. I held that carving and understood what I'd been given. Not just proof of their existence, but proof of their personhood. And personhood includes the right to privacy, to self-determination, to live free from unwanted observation. They left before dawn. When I woke, they were gone. I packed my camp, shouldered my gear, and started the 12-mile hike back to civilization, carrying hundreds of publishable photographs of trees and animals and landscapes, and carrying one small wooden carving I would never show anyone, my secret, my reminder, my proof that some truths are meant to be kept, not told. I emerged from the wilderness on day 15. Dr. Matsuda was waiting at the trailhead, leaning against an old pickup truck. "You made a choice," she said. Statement, not question. "I deleted the photographs, kept the landscapes and wildlife. You'll have everything you need for conservation work." She studied me carefully. "How do you feel?" Like I just committed professional suicide. Like I made the only ethical choice. Like I don't know if I can live with what I know and can't prove. I paused. All of those simultaneously. "That tension never goes away," she said quietly. "You'll carry it forever. The knowledge that you're right and can never be validated, that you protected something more important than your credibility. What happens now? Now you deliver the photographs you kept. You write about the importance of old growth protection. You become another voice arguing for wilderness preservation. And you never ever tell anyone why it matters so much. But it wasn't that simple. It's never that simple." I returned to Portland and delivered the images to Dr. Matsuda's organization. Beautiful shots that supported their grant applications. Work I could be proud of. Work that was technically excellent but ultimately ordinary. My editor at Outside Magazine called. "Welcome back. Let's see what you got." I showed him landscapes, wildlife, forest ecosystems. He looked through them, nodding but underwhelmed. "These are good, Cole, but they're not exceptional. They're not the work of someone who just spent 2 weeks in pristine wilderness. Where's the magic?" "Sometimes wilderness is subtle," I said. "Subtle doesn't sell magazines." The assignment paid but barely covered expenses. No publication, no recognition, just competent work that would sit in archives, unused. Amanda noticed something was wrong when I visited for dinner. "You seem different, distant. What happened out there?" "Nothing, just a routine shoot." "Cole, I've known you your whole life. Something changed. Maybe I just realized that not everything needs to be photographed, that some experiences are diminished by documentation." She looked at me with concern. "That's a weird thing for a photographer to say." I couldn't explain. "How do you tell your sister that you met another species of human, that you held proof of the impossible and chose to destroy it, that you're carrying knowledge that isolates you from everyone you know?" The isolation deepened over the following weeks. I'd be at photographer meetups listening to colleagues discuss their work, their ambitions, their breakthrough shots. And I'd think, I photographed something none of you believe exists. I had the career-making image, and I deleted it. Other photographers started getting the conservation contracts I used to rely on. Word was spreading. Cole Brennan came back from Gifford Pinchot with nothing special. Maybe he's lost his edge. My income dropped. My reputation suffered. Amanda worried. My few close friends asked if I was depressed. I wasn't depressed. I was just living in 2 worlds simultaneously. The normal world where Bigfoot is myth, and the real world where I knew the truth. Then, 6 weeks after returning, I received an anonymous package. Inside, a USB drive containing encrypted files and a handwritten note. You're not alone. Others have made the same choice. We meet quarterly. If you want support, decrypt this and follow instructions. I decrypted it. Found contact information for a network. People like Dr. Matsuda, like me, photographers, researchers, hikers, rangers, all carrying the same secret, all living with the same isolation. The first meeting was in Seattle. 12 people in a coffee shop back room, speaking carefully, sharing experiences. "I'm Sarah," said a woman in her 30s. "I'm a wildlife biologist. I found a juvenile in Olympic National Forest 3 years ago, collected hair samples, destroyed them before they could be analyzed." "David," said a man in his 50s, "ranger for 20 years. I've encountered them 4 times. Never filed reports. They went around the circle. Each person had chosen protection over proof. Each person carried the burden of silent knowledge. When my turn came, I said, 'I'm Cole.' I photographed them. Clear shots. Then I deleted everything. My voice caught. And I don't know if I made the right choice." "You did," said everyone simultaneously. 2 months after returning, I got the call that changed everything. Amanda panicked. "Cole, there are men at my apartment asking about you. They say they're with a research institute. They're asking about your work in Gifford Pinchot. What did you do out there? Don't tell them anything. I'm coming over." I arrived to find 2 men in my sister's living room. Expensive outdoor gear, professional equipment. One was reviewing documents on a tablet. The other stood when I entered. "Mr. Brennan, thank you for meeting with us. I'm Dr. Richard Holbrook, Cryptozoology Research Institute. We understand you recently completed work in the Gifford Pinchot. We'd like to discuss your findings. I photographed trees. Nothing cryptozoological about Douglas firs. We've been tracking reports from that area for 18 months. Unusual footprints, vocalizations, thermal signatures. 3 different photographers have worked that region in the past year. 2 produced nothing. But you..." Oh, he consulted his tablet. "You have a reputation for finding elusive wildlife, for going where others can't or won't. Sometimes there's nothing to find. We're prepared to offer you $50,000 for any photographs or evidence you collected. Anonymous transaction. Complete confidentiality." Amanda looked at me, confused and scared. "Cole, what is he talking about?" "He's talking about paying me to violate research ethics and endanger wildlife," I said. "The answer is no," Holbrook smiled. "Mr. Brennan, we're going to find them eventually, with or without your help. Thermal drone technology has advanced significantly. We have funding for a comprehensive search. You could help ensure they're studied ethically, or you could let less scrupulous people find them first. There's nothing to find. Then you won't mind if we examine your equipment, your computer, your camera storage, just to verify you're not withholding scientific evidence." I felt the wooden carving in my jacket pocket, the one piece of proof I'd kept. "You have no legal right to my equipment." "No, but we have resources to make things difficult. Your sister works at Portland General, correct? Hospital administration. It would be unfortunate if questions about your credibility affected her employment." Amanda stood. "Get out of my apartment. Now. We're simply trying to..." "Out." They left, but Holbrook paused at the door. "This isn't over, Mr. Brennan. We know you found something, and we will find it too." After they left, Amanda turned on me. "What the hell was that? What did you find out there?" I couldn't lie to her anymore. Something that's been hiding for thousands of years. Something that's been surviving by staying invisible, and they want me to expose it. "You're talking about Bigfoot." She said it like she couldn't believe the words. "I'm talking about people, Amanda. A different kind of people, but people, with families and culture and the right to exist without being studied like lab specimens. You actually saw them. I photographed them. Then I deleted the photographs, because their survival is more important than my career or scientific validation or $50,000. She sat down heavily. "You're serious, you're completely serious. Dead serious. And now I need to warn them that someone's coming, that their time of invisibility might be ending." I called Dr. Matsuda. She answered immediately. "They've contacted you." "How did you know?" "Because they've contacted everyone in our network. They're going back into the Gifford Pinchot with military-grade thermal imaging, audio triangulation equipment, and a team of 20. They're launching in 3 days. We have to stop them. We can't, not legally, but we can warn them. Get them to move deeper, higher, somewhere the technology can't reach. I'll go back in, today. I can reach them faster than anyone else. Cole, if you do this, you're choosing them permanently. You'll be the photographer who disappeared while trying to prove Bigfoot exists. Your career will be a cautionary tale. Your family will never fully understand. You'll lose everything. I thought about that juvenile playing in the creek, about the male weaving cordage and trusting me with his image, about the carved figure in my pocket representing art and culture and consciousness. Then I lose everything, I said. When do I leave? I hiked back into the Gifford Pinchot on October 31st, 2024, this time with minimal gear, maximum speed. I had maybe 48 hours to find them, warn them, and convince them to move before Holbrook's team arrived with technology that would make invisibility impossible. I reached the valley on day 2, found the marked trees, the shelter sites, evidence they'd been there recently, but they were already gone. They'd known. Somehow they'd sensed the approaching danger and vanished deeper into wilderness. I left a message anyway. Stacked stones in a cairn pattern at each site. Universal symbol. Warning. Danger. Leave. I hoped they'd understand. Then I made my choice. The choice I'd been circling since I first deleted those photographs. I kept walking, deeper into the mountains, following tracks only I could recognize, away from trails, roads, civilization, following them. On day 5, they let me find them. Or maybe I'd finally proven myself trustworthy. The male appeared first, then the female, then the juvenile who'd grown noticeably even in 2 months. They were heading higher toward the Cascade Crest, toward wilderness so remote even thermal drones would struggle, toward survival. The male made the sound I now recognized as questioning. Why are you here? I pulled out my phone, last bar of signal, and showed him photographs I'd downloaded. Drones, thermal cameras, research teams, danger. He understood, made a sound to the others, urgency in the tone. Then he looked at me. Question clear. Are you coming with us or staying behind? I thought about Portland, Amanda, my career, normal life, everything I'd built. And I thought about them, about protecting something that couldn't protect itself from technology, about standing between extinction and survival. I made my choice. I turned off my phone, removed the SIM card, crushed it under my boot, cut the GPS tracker from my pack and left it behind. Symbolically and practically, I severed connection to the world that wanted to study them. The male nodded, understanding and approval. The female approached and touched my shoulder, gentle, welcoming. The juvenile made a sound of excitement. They had space for one more in their small family, space for someone who'd chosen them over his own kind. We walked deeper into the mountains as winter approached, away from the search parties that would come, away from the thermal imaging and audio triangulation, into wilderness so profound that humans rarely venture there. That was 3 months ago. The camera they found belonged to Cole Brennan. The man who carried it doesn't really exist anymore. I'm something else now. Not human, not their species, but something between. A bridge, a guardian, someone who chose protection over proof and exile over explanation. Amanda will grieve, will eventually accept that I got lost, that the mountains claimed another casualty. The photography community will forget me. Holbrook's team will search, find nothing, eventually give up. And a family of the last archaic humans will survive because someone chose them. I write this on salvaged paper with charcoal from our fire. It will never be published, never be read. But I need to document this choice, even if only for myself. I found Bigfoot. I photographed Bigfoot. Then I deleted the photographs and disappeared into the forest to protect them. Some might call it madness. I call it the only rational choice in an irrational situation. The choice to value life over knowledge, protection over proof, silence over sensation. Some secrets of the forest are not discovered. They are entrusted to those willing to become part of the secret themselves.